Hello everybody. Today I just want to talk a little bit about the retaliating siege situation with the upcoming format and Dracotail being expected to be one of the, if not the best decks right now. I think a lot of people will be playing the Retaliating Sea and the side deck. To counter that, you need to be able to know some lines against it, how you can play around it, and how you can potentially beat it, like what cards are beating the Retaliating Sea, and what combo lines. So first off, I just want to say really quickly, I think moving forward, playing Fenrir in your side deck will be mandatory, because it just has such a good matchup into the Retaliating Sea, pretty much. Otherwise, you will need to adjust your combos a little bit towards the Retaliating Sea, so you don't play into it that much. Which is fine, I think. It is a little bit annoying that Dracotail now has kind of a silver bullet, but with some lines, you should be able to play around it nonetheless. First off, I want to talk about some Magistus lines, like with the Crowley and Zora. I think this version plays a little bit better into the Retaliating Sea. So I'm gonna show off two combo lines which you can play. Pretty much play in the Magistus variant. To beat the Retaliating Sea, of course. So for the first line, this is just a non-engine. They do not really matter. You're gonna need like two random names, it doesn't matter which. And obviously something like an Urgula is a little better, but you don't need it. And you will need a Cartesia. This is pretty much like an easy line you can take. You can normal summon the Cartesia, activate the effect to send the pan and the two names basically to the graveyard to make yourself an Arthelion. Arthelion here is going to trigger to add those two, and those two will set the spells, the Rahu and the Ketu. Nothing out of the ordinary here. And now you have set those spells. In this instance, if you activate the Ketu, they have a choice here. They can either activate the Retaliating Sea now, or wait for you to activate the Rahu. In the Crowley version, in the Magistus version, they kind of are forced to activate it on the Ketu, which is why it is a lot better into the Retaliating Sea, because if they Retaliating Sea you here now, you can just add yourself a 5 mana, not fuse, banish the spell obviously, and use those two to make yourself an SP. SP is then gonna banish the Retaliating Sea, and from that point on you can activate yourself the Rahu and play from there. However, if they decide not to use it on the Ketu and hold it instead, you're still going to add yourself the 5 mana. That one doesn't change. And instead, you're going to send the Cartesia for the Artemis, activate the 5 mana, fusion summon yourself the Zora, and from that point on you're going to equip the Artemis. Now you already beat the Retaliating Sea because you can just negate it with the Zora. So in that combo you just activate the Rahu next, potentially you can send a name which you have in hand, or you can send a non-engine which you don't need. But for the sake of it, we're just going to play it simple, send a pan, and you will send yourself the Urgula. And here you're going to special the Woman, And remember, Retaliating C is now able to be negated with the Zora. And this triggers to set yourself the trap. Like the flame, for example. And now you can add back the 5 mana with Urula, and you can add in the end phase the Cartesia, which is really nice. So if you play the Crowley version, they are forced to activate it on the Ketu, pretty much. If they don't, they are going to pretty much not be able to activate it at all. So yeah. So now let's imagine you, instead of having 2 names plus a Cartesia, you only have a 5 mana plus the Cartesia. What are you going to do now? So the start is the same, where you're going to activate the Cartesia and activate the effective use. You will then send the special summon the Arthelion, and Arthelion is going to trigger to add back those 2 names, and 5 mana is going to trigger here to instead set the Rahu. It is important you don't set the Ketu, because then you will be missing 1 way to fuse. And then add this. If you have a 5 mana in hand, you play even better into the Retaliating Sea with the Crowley version, because from this point on you can just send the Cartesia to the grave, make the Artemis again, activate the 5 mana in hand to fuse those 2, and make the Zora. So you haven't played a single spell currently at all, and you already have a monster negate with equipping the Artemis. So now you can just quite easily activate the Rahu, send one of your non-engine space stuff, and add yourself or send the Urula. Here you can special summon the Gourmet, trigger the Urula. You're gonna have going to set 1 flame, and you activate the Urula to add back the 5 mana. From this point on, you can obviously extend further with activating the Artemis to then add the Crowley and special summon the Crowley. And again, you made yourself a monster negate before the Retaliating Sea is even able to activate. And yeah, that's pretty much how the Crowley variant works to play around Retaliating Sea. If you open a 5 mana plus a Cartesia, you completely play around it. If you just open a Cartesia plus 2 names, you also play around it, but they are able to activate it theoretically. But yeah, that's why I think the Crowley variant usually is a little better into the Retaliating Sea. But nonetheless, in the pure version, you are still able to play around the Retaliating Sea, so you shouldn't be worried all that much. So now I'm going to show you another combo about how to play around the Retaliating Sea with the pure version. So now we will be doing the same combo line, or like the same requirement like before. The only thing you kind of need with the 2 names, you need 1 dragon and 1 spellcaster monster, so you can make the Secretarian Dragon, which I'm going to show you in a bit. Any combination is fine. You like the Lukia is obviously really nice. You can have the new spellcaster, and any dragon is completely viable. You can even substitute the spellcaster with Cartesia. However, you will need a dragon name to make the Secretarian Dragon, which I'm going to show you now. So here you will be activating the Cartesia to send the 2 names to make, instead of the Arthelion, you are going to make the Secretarian Dragon. The 2 names will trigger, which in this case you can just set yourself a Rahu and a Ketu, and from this point on you are going to activate the Secretarian Dragon to, you can do both, but special summon the Lucius and put back the Mululu. Lucius is going to trigger to add yourself the 5 mana. And from this point on, you can do multiple things, but I mostly do like this. I send the Lucius to make the blue eyes and use those two to make the seals. From this point on, you can activate the Ketu, and now they have the first interaction to activate the Retaliating Sea, obviously. If they activate Retaliating Sea here, you are still not locked into link monsters, so you can just add yourself something like the pan, and you have multiple choices here. I always recommend that you just straight up pass here, and if they play something like Yummy, they need to auto-retaliating Sea themselves. If they don't play Yummy and play Mitsu instead, this board is also fine. If you play against Mitsu, you should instead not add the Rahu here, you should instead add the Flame. But yes, so let's say they don't activate the Ketu here, you are instead going to add yourself not a pan, but you're going to add yourself the Urgula. And yes, and now you will be activating 5 mana to fuse one of the non-engine you have in hand to make yourself an Athelion. Here you're going to activate the Athelion to add yourself 5 mana and the non-engine, plus activate the Urgula to set yourself one of the traps. So actually I think you don't, in this combo line you don't even need Rahu, you can just set yourself the Flame and that's it. And then set yourself the second trap. So this should be the second trap in my opinion, in the combo line. So you end, at the end of the combo, you will end on, obviously this adds back this, you will end on one way to fuse with Cartesia, you will end on Seals, which bounces into a Mululu, you will end on 2 traps, like this is the second trap, and 5 mana, plus like the 2 non-engine you had in hand. So if they do decide to Retaliating Sea on the Ketu, obviously, you still have, like this is not here, like the second trap is not here, but you will have the one trap, like the Flame, and you will have Seals, Cartesia on board, you will have 5 mana plus a pan in hand. And I think that usually beats pretty much everything, or like you at least go into a ranked game. So yeah, I'm gonna clean up for a little bit, and then we can go into the other combo lines, which do not include Cartesia basically. For the next combo, you will need 2 names, which are going to be access to 5 mana, so either Lucius or 5 mana herself, plus the Mululu. Mululu in this case is very important because it acts like Cartesia, where it can fuse when it is on the field. So you're going to do exactly that. Here you're going to summon the Lucius, declare the effect to add yourself the 5 mana. From here on out, you can activate the 5 mana to fusion summon those 2 into, I think it is Athelion here, probably. No, it's Secretarian again. You special summon the Secretarian, you trigger those 2 to set yourself Rahu and a Ketu. Here you're going to activate the Secretarian Drain to special summon the Mululu back and put the Lucius under the deck. And yeah, from this point on, you will activate the Ketu. And if they're retaliating to you here, it is the same with the other combo as well, where you just straight up add yourself something like, for example, I don't know, like a pan. And from here on out, like this is the banished pile, this is the graveyard, you will make an SP using those two. And you will activate the Rahu to send 2 names to grave, because you will banish with SP like the Retaliating Sea, and send 2 names like an Ogula, for example. You can also instead, if you don't need 2 traps, you can send 1 of this, but it doesn't really matter all that much. You will not make the Guamel, you will make an Athelion. Athelion is going to trigger to add back the pan, and then you're going to trigger obviously the pan and Ogula to set yourself the 2 traps. And you're going to activate the Ogula to put itself under the deck again. So after Retaliating Sea, you will have Athelion, an SP, the 2 traps plus 5 mana access plus the 3 non-engine, which in my opinion is really strong. I think you will be able to play that way. However, if you instead don't get interrupted, like with the, I'm just gonna put these back really quick, you have these 2, this is in the extra deck, and you have instead this plus this, and I think yeah, the 5 mana is in grave, like this, and you activate the Ketu. And they are not going to interact with the Ketu, they will wait with the Retaliating Sea, so you cannot make the SP basically. So in this case, you will just add the Ogula, put the Ketu in the graveyard, and you're going to activate Mululu. Mululu is then going to fuse. Usually I like to play let the Mululu stay on the field, because it is an extra way to fuse, but you can theoretically, if you want the second trap as well, you can fuse those 2. However, I usually like to fuse one of the non-engines plus the Ogula, obviously, to make the Athelion. From here on out, you can trigger the Athelion to add back those 2, and trigger the Ogula to set yourself the trap. Now you have 2 options. You can just pass here, and if they have the Retaliating Sea, they couldn't activate it, or you can be a little bit greedy, which honestly I like, is you can activate the Rahu, you can send the non-engine you just added, and pan. Obviously, if they have Retaliating Sea, they will Retaliating Sea you here, which is totally fine with you, honestly. You just, like, they activate Retaliating Sea, I hope you kind of can see it. They activate Retaliating Sea here, and the stuff you would send to the graveyard instead will get banished, so you just say, okay, it gets banished, that's completely fine with me, and I just make a Guaman. And even in the next turn, from this point on, if they have the Retaliating Sea, you can always activate Mululu, chain the Guamel to pop the Retaliating Sea, and you have obviously the 1 trap. So, in my opinion, that is a really nice way to beat Retaliating C in the how should I say, in the pure version, pretty much. I'm going to show you one more combo where you open 5 mana plus Mululu, so you don't have the access to the Lucius, pretty much. So yeah. So for the last combo of the day, I kind of want to quickly show you the Mululu plus 5 mana line, which you can use. So what you're gonna do, you're going to normal summon the Mululu and activate the effect to then fuse non-engine plus the 5 mana into an Athelion. So obviously this also plays around other cards because you have the 5 mana, so even if there's an imperm you can theoretically chain it. So but now we just play against Retaliating C, so now you're going to activate the Athelion to add those two back to hand and activate the 5 mana to, from this point on, set yourself a Ketu. You will add those two back, and here you will activate the Ketu. Now, again, the opponent here has a choice of activating the Retaliating C or basically waiting if I resolve a Rahu. In this sense, he doesn't see that I already have a Rahu, so there's a more likely chance for him to Retaliating C here, which you are going to be fine with, which is actually even better. So we haven't used the Mululu effect yet, so in chain of him activating Retaliating C, you can chain yourself the 5 mana to fuse the Mululu plus a card in hand into the Guamel. So how the chain will resolve, the Guamel will hit the board, the Retaliating C will hit the board on the opponent's side, and you will search with Ketu. You will search yourself, for example, in Ogula. Now you will be able to trigger the Mululu. This hits the board, the Guamel also hit the board. You will trigger the Mululu to set yourself the Rapu. Once you do that, you're going to negate with the Mululu the Retaliating C, so you are no longer under Macrocosmos. This gets banished, by the way, because it is still on the board while this hits the field, but everything else is still in the graveyard. So this is negated, and now you can just activate the Rahu to send the Ogula plus a card you don't need, like for example the Pan, which has value in the graveyard anyways, to fuse those two into, I know it looks a little bit minus, but that's in my opinion kind of fine if you play against Retaliating C. You make yourself another Athelion, and yeah, you're going to trigger the two names to set yourself the two traps, and then you're going to activate the Ogula to put it back into the deck and add yourself the 5 mana. So now with the setup against Retaliating C, you will have the typical setup of Guamel plus the two traps plus a 5 mana in hand. So yeah, however, let's say we scroll back a little bit, like these two on the deck. We are currently under the assumption that this is the board state with, I believe this is in the hand, this is in the deck, and this is in the deck. So let's say instead of using the Retaliating C here, they will not activate it on the Ketu. You can do a similar thing here, where you can just add yourself an Ogula, or theoretically even add yourself, I think maybe that is even a little bit better, but I need to test it, where you can add yourself a fixer. And here you're going to activate the 5 mana, fusing those two back to make yourself a Secretarian Dragon. Those two are going to trigger to set yourself to 2 traps. And here you can activate the Secretarian Dragon to target the Fixer and the Mululu, where you can special summon the Fixer, put the Mululu back into the deck, and Fixer is going to trigger to summon the 5 mana and bounce it back to hand. So that way you have the 2 traps, a Secretarian on the field, plus 5 mana access. However, obviously you do not need to go through the Fixer. This line you can instead add yourself with this being in the extra deck. You can instead on this one you can just add yourself the Ugula, which is completely fine. I think it might even be a little better. This goes into the graveyard and you're just going to activate 5 mana here. You will send, in my opinion, you let the Mululu stay on board. You send the Ugula and a non-engine slot to make yourself the Guamel. This is going to trigger to set yourself a flame. And then you're going to trigger the Ugula to add back the 5 mana and put this under the deck. So this is your board if you have a Mululu plus a 5 mana against a Retaliating Sea. And you only gave them one chance to activate Retaliating Sea, which you can easily cheat out. So like you can easily negate basically. So that's my idea of how you should play the combo or the combos against the Retaliating Sea. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this video helped a little bit on how you can sequence your cards against Retaliating Sea basically. I think Retaliating Sea is a silver bullet. I think it is really strong, but you, again, just like with Malice, you have lines to play under it. And I think in this case, these lines are even a little bit more real, I would say. So I hope you enjoyed. I hope this helped. And let me know what you think, basically.